Hello, welcome to EPG Pathshala. This is Dr. Neelam Yadav from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, one of the faculty member. And today I am going to cover this module, that is Environment, Climate Change and Development under the course of Rural Development. With this module actually we will learn about many things which is basic. We'll start with the basics like understanding of the conceptual terminologies which includes ecology, environment, biodiversity and many more which is related to environment. Apart from that, actually this module has been divided into two parts. Like one unit will talk about environment, ecology and ecosystem dynamics, as well as the another unit will talk about the climate change mitigation and adaptation. In general, this is the review of the whole module which is given into that. This is going to cover the conceptual understanding regarding the environmental phenomena, which includes, as I mentioned, ecology, ecosystem, biodiversity concept, the conservation of biodiversity, climate change, carbon sequestration and its mitigation for climate change. These are the outline of the whole unit which is going to cover from the module. Like as I mentioned already, in this it is going to cover about ecology, about ecosystem and various types of ecosystem, and the dynamics of ecosystem. It is related to productivity or production, biodiversity and different classification according to the biogeographic area, then threats to the biodiversity because of human factor, because of poaching or wildlife, and the conservation of biodiversity. Basically broadly it is divided into two, in situ and ex situ. Megadiversity is also one of the emerging concept for the biodiversity. And in this module, as I mentioned about the conservation methods, that is going to cover into this, as well as the national and international policies related to the biodiversity. This is very known term, ecology, that has been coined by Ernst Haeckel in 1869. This is actually means of the study of the organism within their natural home. And there are many other definitions also given by other environmentalists also, but these are the common one. Within this we can see there are four basic principles of ecology. Like first principle is the system of ecology is huge, and this contains a network of interrelationship. The interrelationship means there are number of components which is included into this, and that relates to each other. Second is this interrelated network is inclusive of a structure that contains both abiotic as well as biotic components. Next principle is the network present in the ecological system has a control of the energy as well as nutrient flow. And the fourth and important one is that the energy from our solar system has a control over the flow of nutrient as well as energy. Within the scope of ecology, as I mentioned, there is a whole universe. Within that we have different kind of components which includes forest, agriculture, livestock, poultry, and different kind of vegetations, soil, water and all. So this has been divided broadly into two. One is autoecology and second is xenoecology. Within autoecology we are studying about a single or individual organism related to the environmental component, while in case of xenoecology we are studying it as a whole community rather than an individual. Within that xenoecology there is again classifications. This is more wider, so you can go through the text and you can get the details from there. Next component, as I mentioned, this is ecosystem. This is also very important concept of environment. This ecosystem consists with again many factors, that is a biotic factor as well as abiotic factors. In biotic factor, again it is being divided into producers, consumers and decomposers. Actually the biotic factors which include all the living organisms with their surrounding. While in case of abiotic components, all the physical as well as chemical components will come into this. And like physical components, the source of energy as well as the source of water, rainfall, temperature, wind, all will come. And in chemical components, all the chemical compounds which is around the universe which will come. Biodiversity, that is another important concept. This deals with the degree of nature's variety in the biosphere, and this nature divided again into various components. This is again divided into various components, like it is divided into genetic biodiversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. There is a classification of all the living entities as well as the whole geographical region has been done. So basically it has been divided into 10 major regions, that is called as a biogeographic classification, means on the basis of the biological as well as geographical diversity it has been divided. Basically in India the 10 important biogeographic zones, like these are listed over here. The first one is the cold mountainous snow, second is the Himalayan ranges and valleys of Kashmir, next one is the Tarai, the lowland where the Himalayan rivers flow into the plains, the Gangetic and Brahmaputra plains, the Thar desert of Rajasthan, the semi-arid grassland region, northeast state of India, the western Ghats in Maharashtra, the Andaman Nicobar Island, and the long western and eastern coastal belt with sandy beaches, forest and mangroves. So in this way we can see there is a biodiversity in terms of geography as well as living organisms. But apart from all these, there are a lot of threats to the biodiversity because of the human activities, poaching, wildlife and many other wildlife conflicts. Like it can be seen over here, there are basically 3 main activities that is causing for the threat to the biodiversity. One is the human population growth because of industrialization and change in the land use pattern, it is over there. Second is poaching. This is one of the important activity that is continuously growing up and it is also causing threat to the biodiversity. And third important is man wildlife conflict. Like there is an example which is given in case of Sambhalpur, that is Odisha. 195 humans were killed in last 5 years because of elephants. So in retaliation, villagers also killed 98 elephants and they injured badly to around 30 elephants. So this is also one of the way to threat. Like this is a flow diagram which will continuously which is showing the continuous over-rising population as well as the human activities, that different kind of activities either in case of agriculture, forestry or urbanization or industrialization, all these activities are ultimately going to affect over the rest of the ecological system. So ultimately it is going to affect the overall climate change, and this is a vice versa. If there would be change in the climate, so obviously it is going to affect the whole climate as well as the human factor. Like you can see in the flow chart also, this is in continuation of the human activities, either human activities or natural activities, that is ultimately going to affect on the climate change, and consequently it is coming over the human factor again. This is the flow chart. Over there you can see many factors, like because of increasing population, the consumption pattern is also being changed, and because of the consumerism also the resource exploitation is also being increased, and this affects on various segments. Like it is increased in case of agriculture also, rather than there is a horizontal development, now we are looking to the vertical development as the land is squeezing. So this is one factor. So second factor which comes because of that, like we are trying to increase the allied activities, like we are looking for the forestry side, we are looking for the other allied activities in terms of the diversification of the agricultural activities. But ultimately all these either it is abiotic factor or it is biotic factor, it is generating some kinds of chemicals, mostly in form of CO or CO2. So because of the emission of CO and CO2, the overall, like we are hearing about global warming, that is what? This is nothing but the consequence of the greenhouse, if sometimes, because if we are going to increase the or if the land is being squeezed, so we are looking for the off-season crops, and in case of off-season crops, then we will look into the greenhouse cultivation, and within greenhouse cultivation there is emission of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide as well as CFC. So these all are ultimately going to increase the global warming. And as in the human activities, it is being mentioned industry is one of the factor. And Pressure of the international trade is another factor. So because of the pressure on the international trade, we are looking for the consumerism, and this consumerism increases the exploitation as well as over exploitation of the resources, and all these ultimately are going to affect in terms of the degradation of the living condition for the human being. Second, it generates pollution. Next, it creates exploitation as well as pollution to the land, which is having a long last effect on the human health. Like we all know about the case of Chandigarh and Punjab and Ludhiana. Because of utilization of maximum number of chemicals in the land, now we are not getting very nutritive vegetables, so we are looking for other options. Yeah, so in this flow chart you can see, because of the international trade, because of different conditions which is created from the human activities, the change of environment is over there. That is called as a climate change. So in between you can see over there, this is a climate change. And what are the effect, the consequence, or the vice versa, the reciprocal effect of the climate change is that there's a lot of biological diversity. Like there's extinction of some of the important flora and fauna, or some of the important species. As I mentioned, there's a reciprocal activity. I have given you example of the Sambalpur, Odisha also, because now we are going to hunt to the elephant, to the leopard, to the tiger, or to many living entities just for the sake of trade. So that is ultimately affecting our the ecosystem, and that ecosystem is not apart from the human being. And like we are hearing about the genetic degradation in terms of like we are losing the resistance power, as well as the genetic degradation is also coming over there. I have mentioned three types of biodiversity. So out of three, one was the genetic biodiversity. So within genetic biodiversity, now the resistance power, the power of adaptation and the acclimatization is being reduced just because of all these factors. So this is also a reciprocal effect, or this is also a kind of consequence because of the change of environment that is coming on the human being. So within this flow chart you can see these are the activities which is done by the human being, and all these activities are ultimately coming at a level where we are calling as a change in the climate. But because of change in climate, the whole ecosystem, either it is land or water or it is air or any kind of universe, the place of the universe where we are living and surviving, that is coming to us only in a different manner, that is ultimately again going to affect on us. So this is going to be a big threat in future for us. So this is we can look in that manner, and this is not actually going to reduce, this is increasing day by day. There are two important way to conserve the biocity. This is one is this in situ conservation, and second is the ex situ conservation. In situ conservation, this is actually, it can be done in all three levels of biodiversity, either in the genetic level or species level, or it can be done in the ecosystem level. Within this in situ conservation, actually it consists a network of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Means within the this species can be preserved within the protected area. Like there are few examples which is given into this slides also. One is the wildlife sanctuaries and national parks in India. There are a number of wildlife sanctuaries and national park in India which is there to preserve the biodiversity. And second is the Great Himalayan National Park, that is also one of the big sanctuary, largest sanctuary in the ecosystem. Next is the Dachigam Sanctuary. This is also one of the place where there is some species has been conserved. Apart from this, there are many more, like Kaziranga National Park. This is one of the important famous for elephant and wild buffaloes. Next is Ranthambore. This is also known as one of the sanctuary for observing tigers in the wild till about 3 or 4 years ago. Next is the Great and the Little Run of Kutch, that is made into sanctuary to protect very rare wild as the flamingo and star tortoise and many other deserted fox. In Gujarat, the Gir Sanctuary, this is also one of the popular sanctuary to conserve and preserve the majestic Asiatic lion. Another one is the ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation, in this there are situations in which endangered species is so close to extinction that unless alternate method will not be used, that is going to be extincted or it may be finished. So this is outside its natural habitat in a careful controlled situation. This is being preserved, like there is a construction of botanical garden for plants and zoological parks for animals. Apart from that, in India, there is some biodiversity hotspot area also has been declared. These areas are where the density as well as the concentration of the species in terms of flora and fauna is very high. That is called as the hotspot. So in India, we are having many places which has been considered as hotspot. Out of all these, there are few important which has been given. Himalayan region, that includes entire Indian Himalayan region, Indo-Burma region, Sunderlands and Western Ghats. These are few of the important hotspots which is in the India. Basically, there are three important methods to conserve and to measure biodiversity. These methods are: one is the alpha diversity, that indicates within the community, that means the diversity of organizations which is sharing within the same habitat or same community. Second is the beta diversity, that means diversity between communities. Species fluently change when the community changes. While in case of third one, that is the gamma diversity, it refers the diversity of the habitat over the total land scope or geographical area. So it can be the sum of alpha and gamma diversities. There are number of international as well as national policies on biodiversity, like the most significant one which is given in the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity that has come in 1992. Apart from that, the Ramsar Conservation of Wetlands, it came in 1971. Next is Convention for the Protection of World Cultural and Natural Heritage, that comes in 1972. Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species of Wildlife, Fauna and Flora, that was CITES, that came in 1973. There was another convention, that is Convention on the Conservation of European Wildlife and Natural Habitat, that came in 1979, and very important, that is also World Conservation Strategy, that came in 1980. As I mentioned, there are basically two units. The module has consist with two units. The first unit was about the conceptualization of the terminologies which is related to environment, and the second unit, that is related to the climate change as well as the mitigation and adaptation of the climate change. Within that, we will learn about various signs and symbols about the climate change and how it can be mitigated. Like that is very common. We are having that climate change which refers in the change in the basically in main climatic factors like temperature, rainfall, humidity, wind pattern and all. And basically two important factors are there to change it. Like one is the human cause, as I mentioned in the previous unit also. There is a various activity like deforestation, urbanization, industrialization. These are the factors which is causing for the change in climate, as well as there are some natural factors which is also affecting, like either in change in the wind velocity or increase in the temperature, as well as change in the rainfall pattern. This is also the cause of climate change. These are some important signs which is being listed, which is related to climate change, like rising sea level, melting polar ice, loss of mountain, glacier and snowpack, expansion of the oceans, changing weather patterns, stronger hurricanes, more drought and flooding, effects on human health and effects on ecosystem. What does REDD? REDD, this is one of the factor which is related to the reduction in the carbon level within the environment. As we are knowing, because of the global warming or because of the urbanization as well as deforestation, we are increasing, there is a more emission of carbon dioxide as well as CFCs, that is increasing the level of carbon in the environment. So this is the reduction of this is reducing forest destruction as well as forest degradation, that helps to reduction in the emission of carbon dioxide into the environment. So REDD, that seeks to maintain a forest area, within that prevent deforestation and to maintain and increase the carbon density in order to prevent forest degradation, that allows for forest degeneration as well as rehabilitation. Within the mitigation and adaptation strategy, that climate mitigation, this is one of the conceptual terminology. Within that, many actions which is taken in order to eliminate or reduce the long-term risk and hazard which is because of the climate change on human life. While in case of climate adaptation, this refers to the ability of a system to adjust within the climate change that includes in the variabilities or extremes to moderate potential damage, to take advantage of the opportunities or to cope up with the consequences. There are many steps which has been taken by the United Nations in order to conserve as well as in order to escape out of all these climatic changes. So this is one of the steps which has been taken in the Bali roadmap, that is the first step on the difficult journey to a post-Kyoto Protocol agreement. Within the Conference of Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change that has been taken to the Kyoto Protocol that was met in Bali in 2007, and within that it has been decided and it has been worked on many factors like adaptation fund, avoidance of deforestation through REDD, technology transfer and CDM. There are mainly few important considerations has been taken within the Bali action plan. These considerations are first is the international cooperation to support implementation of adaptation process, including vulnerable assessment, prioritization of action, financial need assessment and many more which is related to the environmental factors. Second consideration which was taken in the Bali roadmap was risk management and risk reduction strategy that includes risk sharing as well as transfer mechanisms such as insurance. The third consideration which was taken in the Bali roadmap was disaster reduction strategy and means to address loss and damages associated with climate change impact in developing countries that are particularly vulnerable to the adverse effect of climate change. And the fourth important consideration was economic diversification to build resilience. So overall we can say this Bali roadmap has been taken only 4 important concentrations. One is mitigation, second is adaptation, next is technology and fourth one is the financing. So basically the second unit talks about more in terms of the climate change as well as the science of climate change and how it can be mitigated and adapted. Like I have mentioned 2 important strategies. One was the climate mitigation, second was the climate adaptation, and these 2 are somehow either to escape or to avoid or to conserve certain mechanisms in order to reduce the consequences of the climate. Like there was one I have mentioned about REDD. This was a kind of activity or kind of policy which has been talked about reduction of the carbon level with the help of reducing deforestation, reducing industrialization or the consequences of the industrialization or many more activities which was responsible for increasing the carbon level. Second was, as I mentioned, there are many international policies, like basically one step has been taken by United Nations. It was the Bali roadmap. It was about few considerations which include in the financial, technological support as well as mitigation. And so as I mentioned, in United States also has taken lead in terms of the Bali roadmap that was conducted in 2007 in Bali. So it was basically considered with 4 building blocks. One was mitigation, second was adaptation, next was taking the help of technologies as well as considering the financial factor also. Next important concept, that is carbon sequestration, that is used to describe both natural and deliberate process by which carbon dioxide that is emitted either removed from the atmosphere or diverted from emission sources and stored in the ocean. Means there is a many storage in the environment which is storing the carbon, either this is ocean or in soil also. Sometimes soil is also very good factor to absorb the carbon which is coming out of the various sources like CFC, CO2, these all are coming from various sources. So sometimes soil and land or water or ocean, this is also one of the source to absorb the carbon. So in this environment, carbon, as I mentioned, it exists in various forms like biomass, soil, organic matter, geologic deposit and in a gaseous form. So in atmosphere it dissolves in sea water and it goes into the ocean and it can remain for a longer time. It can be in the vegetation also, like in forest. So basically the question was, what is carbon sequestration? That is, as I mentioned, although ocean stores maximum portion of the carbon, it contains about 75% of carbon pool that is in land. So although oceans store most of the earth carbon, soil contains approximately 75% of carbon pool on land, 3 times more than the amount stored in living plants and animals. That is what we can call as the soil is one of the important source that absorb carbon and ultimately balance carbon dioxide and make carbon cycle. So in a manner we can say this carbon sequestration is also one of the method of mitigation in the climate change, like human activities, that especially as I mentioned burning of the fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas, that have caused a substantial increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide as well as emission of the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide from the global warming and greenhouses effects. So this increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide, either it comes from any sources, that from about 280 to more than 380 parts per million over the last 250 years, that is causing measurable global warming. So in this manner, basically out of all these two units we have learned, like in first unit this was about the basic and conceptual understanding about the environmental terminologies, and in second unit basically it talks about the very basic of the climatic factors as well as different components and efforts which has been done by United Nations and different bodies in order to mitigate the increase in the level of carbon in the atmosphere. This is in a very brief about the environment and climate change. So if you want to get some more information, so there is a very good textbook which has been released from the UGC also, that would give the basics of the environment and climate change, and apart from that there is a e-text which is being uploaded on EPG Pathshala. You can get from there also. Thank you.